What's up, everybody? Welcome to Talk Wrestling here on NoDQ.com, and of course the multi-subscribed YouTube channel, NoDQ on YouTube. Thank you all for watching this week. Let's get right into it. First, it's a multi-layered question from my buddy JJ Williams. He sent it to me on Facebook. Agree or disagree, and why? How would you change the rankings? He sent me a link to a website called PlacetoBeNation.com, which ranked the 10 count of ECW wrestlers, the top 10 ECW wrestlers of all time. And they are as follows. Number 10, New Jack. Number 9, Raven. Number 8, Terry Funk. Number 7, the Dudley Boys. Number 6, Taz. Number 5, Rob Van Dam. Number 4, Sandman. Number 3, Sabu. Number 2, Shane Douglas. And number 1, Tommy Dreamer. And they cited Tommy Dreamer, the reason is because he was indeed the heart and soul of ECW. And he, more than anybody else, including Shane Douglas, represented ECW's very existence. Thank you, JJ. This is an awesome question. I greatly appreciate the input, brother. It is very hard to disagree with any of those guys being in the top 10. All of them had a huge impact on ECW's existence overall. I mean, New Jack, the original Gangsta, his music alone would start, and he would have a match or a run-in for the entire song, and the song would play over and over again, and his song would play throughout the entire course of the match. It was revolutionary back then, and he was just a straight-up thug who beat the shit out of people. It was unbelievable how much of a pop New Jack got as a member of the Gangstas, and then by himself, of course. Raven, I mentioned Raven, I believe, either last week or the week before on Talk Wrestling, about his in-ring psychology and his psychology overall, and how he told a story is second to none in ECW. He could warp people's minds with just a little trick of the head, a little cock of the eye, whatever it would be. He was awesome. Terry Funk, Paul Heyman has said on multiple occasions there'd be no ECW without Terry Funk. He was the only guy from that era that would compete in the ring and at the same time take the kids along. I'll work with him. Oh, I could do really something special with him, and do that. And Terry was on Extreme Mayhem. We called him. It was 5 o'clock in the morning here in California, and we called him before breakfast at Amarillo, and it was great. Terry's awesome. I love Terry. The Dudleys, the most successful act to come out of ECW. And that's just the way it is. Multiple time tag team champions there. Multiple time tag team champions WWE, including WCW reign. Multiple time TNA/NWA tag team champions. Tag team champions in Japan. Tag team champions in Mexico, I believe. Don't quote me. The Dudleys are awesome. And they have been awesome since they formed, the two of them, Bubba and Devon, in 1996. The Dudleys act prior to that was okay. But the Dudley act with those two, and then Big Dick Dudley and Sign Guy at ringside, and Joel Gertner at ringside doing the ring announcing, was the most successful act to come out of ECW. Taz. Regardless of Taz blocking me on Twitter, which I'm going to hammer home every time I talk about Taz, I can't deny Taz's overall impact on ECW and the business as a whole. Great trainer, great fighter, great, it's very simplistic on the mic, but made an impact with his mic work. And he's awesome. Taz is great. And I can't say enough good things about Taz back then or even now. And it's a bummer he won't ever know it. Rob Van Dam, my buddy Rob, possibly could be above the Sandman and maybe his partner Sabu in this list, but longest reigning champion in ECW's history, almost 2 years, exactly 23 months to the day that he won and lost the championship. Didn't even lose it. He had to forfeit it due to injury. was being groomed for a world title match, ended up getting the ECW world title in WWE in 2006. We all watched at One Night Stand. That was awesome. The Sandman, another former guest of XMV. With Sandman, it's funny because Sandman was a successful act, but at the end of the day, he was just a beer drinking, cigarette smoking, barroom brawler. And it worked. And he was great in ECW. Sabu embodied ECW. Sabu was the guy, when they shopped ECW around to different territories to put on TV, they'd go, here's our guy. There he is. There's Sabu. Sabu and Cactus Jack was a dream match. That was awesome. And it was Sabu. Sabu definitely belonged in the top 10. Probably where he is, not a little bit lower. Shane Douglas was the franchise of ECW. He made ECW extreme. He and Paul and Todd Gordon turned Eastern Championship Wrestling and NWA territory into Extreme Championship Wrestling after Shane won and threw down the NWA World title. Without Shane Douglas, there is no Extreme in ECW. Without Shane Douglas, there is no franchise. There is no world title in ECW. There's nothing plainer about that. It is what that is. And Tommy Dreamer, as we've all seen in WWE over the years and talked about many times, the heart and soul, the very embodiment, the very lifeblood of ECW was there from opening night till the finish. There was nobody that bled, sweat, and cried about ECW, except maybe Paul, more than Tommy Dreamer. Alright, let's get to some of the... Thank you, JJ, for the question. I really appreciate that. That was awesome. This is from Winston Cup Standings on Twitter. Made my favorite Twitter name because I missed the Winston Cup. You remember the Winston? I remember those. Do you think we'll ever see another face of the company like a Shawn Michaels? I think Dolph Ziggler should be that guy. There will never be another Shawn Michaels. There will never be another Stone Cold Steve Austin. There will never be another Rock. There will never be another anybody. I say this time and time again. I don't know how this question keeps coming up or similar questions like it. We as fans need to understand that we all need to let the wrestlers be who they are and not be the next fill in the blank here. They called this guy the next Hulk Hogan when he was being the overbooked, overutilized, worn out babyface like Hogan was. And the truth of the matter is, John Cena, for all his faults, for all his 5 moves of doom, Hogan had 2 people. Cena was better in his role as the face of the company in the era he was in compared to Hulk Hogan being the only guy back then. Because when Cena was still running things, when Cena was still leader of the pack, which he still kind of is, there was always guys nipping at his heels and almost catching him. Hogan was way ahead of the rest. I can't even talk. Hogan was the guy and the only guy for a long, long time. There will never be another Hulk Hogan. There will never be another Shawn Michaels or a Bret Hart or anybody. Let the guys be who they're going to be. And let them develop on their own, not be compared to the guys of the past. Because if you compare to the past, you ultimately set yourself up to be disappointed. This is from @RexZilla69 on Twitter. Where would the business be right now if there was no Click? I like that question. That's a good question. Well, Kevin, it would be different. I don't know how different, because, I figure if they don't make that pact to stick together as buddies throughout the course of their careers, then there's no real NWO or DX. Because they went to WCW together, Hall and Nash did, and revolutionized everything. Hunter and Sean stayed behind, revolutionized everything. Waltman joined the NWO, then he joined DX. And Hunter, of course, is Hunter. If none of those guys were in the business ever, I think it'd be a much more boring wrestling industry than it is now. Because those four, and Sean Waltman, of course, set a much higher standard for the rest of the industry on both sides, WWE and WCW, to have to keep pace with. And had they not been around, it would have been a whole different ballgame. This is from Aureus Centaur on Twitter. What did you think of Orlando Jordan being the United States champion? I always thought he was a great wrestler and talent. I didn't mind Jordan being the U.S. champion. I thought he was a good U.S. champion. I thought he fit in well with JBL's chief of staff. As JBL's chief of staff, I liked that gimmick. I liked JBL being champion, Jordan being U.S. champion, and the Bashams being the chiefs of security, the tag team champions. I think they were for a brief time with JBL. Could be wrong. It happens. I thought JBL's cabinet was a very cool gimmick. I thought it worked very well for all four of those guys. I didn't like, much as I like Chris Benoit, I didn't like how they jobbed him out to Benoit at SummerSlam in 24 seconds, or whatever it was, and then they kept jobbing him out over and over again. That killed Jordan. That killed Orlando Jordan in the booking circle. Because once he kept losing in less and less time after SummerSlam, he was dead meat. He was dead in the water. Alright, thank you all for watching this week here on Talk Wrestling. We will be back next week with even more of your questions. Stay tuned for that.